And so now we're under assault from the US government, right? The Biden administration, the Democratic Party really doesn't like crypto. And, you know, there's a small cabal, Elizabeth Warren, Sherrod Brown, Gary Gensler, they call it Operation Choke Point, you know, crush crypto. Despite all that, prices are going higher.
What's going on, guys? K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having an awesome day today. The Bitcoin price has basically just stalled out at this level, making a lot of people wonder, why can't we seem to break above this sort of $29,000 level and hold above it? And does this mean bad news for the crypto bulls, right? If you can't break above it, is this actually going to end up being that massive resistance? Now, there is something that we have seen on chain right now. I do want to discuss a scenario that's happening with the Bitcoin whales. We can get some signals from this, and it might help us to understand what could be happening, but there's something even bigger right now happening in crypto, guys, and I think it's been pretty obvious with all of the content that we've been talking about lately. There has been a lot of negativity, specifically in the US, with Elizabeth Warren's anti-crypto army and Operation Choke Point 2.0, right? Well, finally today, something has actually happened that we've spoke about for a long time, and it is quite a loss for the crypto industry, and that is the fact that we finally have had a US exchange saying that they're closing their doors and they're going to focus on overseas global operations. Now, this is absolutely terrible for the crypto industry. However, I do want to just explain why. There is a lot of FUD going on right now. There are a lot of reasons to be concerned, but if you stick around to the end of this video, I think you're going to understand why, at the end of the day, Bitcoin is still probably the best bet, and why I still maintain bullishness despite all the terrible things that are going on right now. So if you're freaking out, if you're worried, if you're in the US and you're like, what is going on right now? The Restrict Act, they're gonna send me to jail for 20 years for using a VPN. We're gonna cover all that today, and of course we're gonna talk about the Bitcoin price specifically, because obviously we are at these critical levels and we do know that we are expecting a big move, and I think we're gonna get that move before the end of next week. So be prepared for that. If that sounds good, you know what to do. If you're not subscribed, definitely consider it, and let's dive in. Let's have a look. So as I can show you guys here, very quick TA today, guys. There's not much to talk about. We are continuing to put in higher highs and higher lows right here. You can see that even though we dipped below this, the next time we came down, we did put in that higher high, right? But we are coming very close to the end of this right here, and we are going to eventually run out. So I cannot see us being in this more than, like, let's say right here at this apex around April 8th. And we know that most of these moves tend to break out between 60 to 70% of completion. So if we just sort of take this triangle right here, right, and we say that that's our basic move that we're looking at, then essentially, you could just take this, come to here, and what you're looking at is by the end of next week. So, I mean, I really would say that by the end of next week, we're going to be having a massive, massive move. Now, if we do break this lower level at around 27, then we still have this major upward sloping trend here. So as I have been saying, we could expect to see Bitcoin come down and retest this area down here, right? To flip that as support. And that's something that we've been talking about. The other area too is that we are hitting this very, very, very significant area of support that held us all through here, right? Every single time that we came down, right? Support, 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 came up here, right? All the way down, support, 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 and then we finally fell. And you can see that once you finally break through these, you tend to break through pretty hard, right? So that is why right now it's acting as that resistance. Could we break higher? Yes, but $32,000 might be that very overheated area that you would want to be paying attention to. And this is something I'm going to get into in a few minutes in the video. Stick around. We are seeing a bit of a warning sign over here. Now, this does not mean that Bitcoin cannot go up to 32,000 before having that pullback, but what it does mean is we've seen, again, right here on the daily, these represent whales selling. So these are large entities or a group of large entities that are making up the majority of the volume on a specific day. This is a daily candle, right? So when we saw this here, we had Bitcoin price sitting up at around 28,000, and we did end up coming down to about that $20,000 area, right? What are we seeing? Actually, we went even lower. We actually got down to about 19.6. Well, we're seeing that again right here, right? We're seeing another possibility of whales taking profits. Now, does this mean that that's it, pumps over, we're going all the way down to 10,000. No, I don't think that at all. I've spoke to you guys, as long as we maintain on this upward sloping trend and we are still holding above this triple threat area, which means we're above the death cross, above the 200 weekly, and above this major pivot point from the Terra Luna crash, then ultimately, as long as Bitcoin really basically stays above 25,300, 25,200, we're still in an uptrend and it's still bullish. Now, what would flip me onto the slight bearish is closing and holding below this. But keep in mind, we still do have this major trend here. So, I mean, the worst case scenario, Bitcoin could fall. It sounds crazy. It wouldn't necessarily be a good sign to see this happen. But according to the charts, if Bitcoin was to fall all the way down, let's say roughly around 18,400, well, then if we just come over here, we take our parallel channels, right? We connect right here, we pull down right here, then, we're still in an uptrend. We're still in an uptrend, right? So that's basically what I'm looking at, guys. There is going to be a big opportunity coming up for a big move. Right now, we're just kind of hanging out. If you guys are interested in learning how to trade, you want to be able to, make gains on these moves, I do go over every single day what I'm looking at. I always tell you guys about the levels, absolutely free. And if you do want to check out a decentralized trading app and you don't want to worry about these exchanges, I do recommend Apex. There's also BitGet and Femex and Bybit. They're also really good too. They have a lot of different features. Some have different altcoins. Again, those are centralized. Hey, you got to do what you got to do to trade. If you're interested, check that popping out above $56,000 in bonuses below. But, here's the thing. This is what Santiment was pointing out, and I just want to mention this. So you can see right here that they say the 5 largest Bitcoin transactions of 2023 have all happened in March. So basically with the largest being 20,000 Bitcoin worth about 564 million. So I'm going to come back to this chart in a second. Why are we worried? Well, according to Santiment's marketing director, Brian Quinlivan, I believe his name is, he says, based on the very large transactions going in March, as well as the 10 to 10,000 Bitcoin address tier continuing to slide down by percentage and taper off by total addresses, it does look like there are some legitimate caution flags to be wary of if you're hoping to see Bitcoin surge to 35,000 and above. Now, remember, I just told you 32, super resistance, like hardcore resistance at 32, right? He's saying 35, but the 5 largest transactions all happen in March, and this seems to be a result of profit taking and fears of a top after a 70% rebound for Bitcoin. Now, 2 things I want to counteract this with, okay? Could we be taking this as FUD? Yes, but also, hear me out here. The more you look at this data, the more the whales know we look at this data, right? When you look in the past, nobody really had any anticipation of people analyzing on-chain data. But as we start to look at this, people start to know. Whales know that you're watching what they're doing. So maybe the whales are just breaking off into smaller wallets. Like, oh, well, the amount of whale wallets are diminishing. Well, how do you know? How do you know one person doesn't have 10 wallets and they didn't just distribute it off to all those wallets, right? So now it's showing that, oh, the whales are selling. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're just distributing it to other wallets. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate on the bullish side here. And number 2, this purple line right here, this purple line, whatever. You can see how low it's getting down here. And that basically represents coins, that are essentially being taken off of the exchanges. So this is actually showing that people are moving their coins off of exchanges, their Bitcoin, which you should technically, theoretically take as a bullish signal, because that means if you're taking it off the exchange, you're not looking to sell, and you don't know who owns these wallets. So if they are, making these big transactions and then breaking them off into smaller wallets, again, you don't know that one person or one entity doesn't own 10 wallets, and if you add those together, then yes, they are a whale. But if you look at individual wallets, then that would tell you that whales are selling, right? So you got to take it with a grain of salt, when you read all these different types of things. I mean, Don Alt, this guy, he was getting a little, if you were following him over on Twitter, he wasn't too sure about the markets. And lately he says, generally looks absurdly good. Quite funny how the FUD of last week and the panic on Twitter aren't even visible on the chart. Goes to show you that most people are way too zoomed in, right? If you're looking at the hourly, the 4-hour, you're all zoomed in. Of course, you're going to see these crazy swings and every little bit of emotion is going to be seen on the chart. But when you zoom out, you realize that it's actually kind of crazy. And something else I just wanted to point out. So you might have known about this, guys, but on March 14th, the U.S. government sold 9,861 Bitcoin for about $215.7 million. So I don't know why they're selling it for cash, which they can just print endlessly. But what's interesting is if you go back here and you look at March 14th, this is March 14th right here. This is March 14th. So now we know in hindsight that this dip, this failed breakout right here was because that was the US government selling. But here's the funny thing. So the US government sells, 9,000 plus Bitcoin. Bitcoin takes a 10% dip, right? We hang out there for, a few days. And then guess what, guys? Bitcoin literally pumps up over 18, 19, 20%. So just to show you that even the US government dumping their Bitcoin, right, is, not enough to really it affect the price 10% on the day, and then boom, we're right back where we were headed. So they can only hold us down for so long. Also, somebody mentioned the fact that the US government says that they're going to continue selling Bitcoin over the next year, as you guys can see right here. Well, that means that Bitcoin theoretically has to still legally be legal for a year, minimally, right? I mean, if they're going to be selling their Bitcoin over the course of the year, they can't ban Bitcoin, then how are they going to sell it, right? I'm sure they could get a way around it, but just pointing that out. But unfortunately, they are looking to sell another 41,500 Bitcoin to from the Silk Road on cryptocurrency exchange BitsLotto. Obviously, that's an April Fool's joke. There's a lot of those today. Be careful out there. Be careful. But seriously, Elizabeth Warren is building an anti-crypto army. Crazy. I still feel like this is fake. Like I still feel like this is a meme, but it's not. This is real. This was on her Twitter. We talked about it in my previous video. I talked about it with the guys at Debate Crypto, and this is what is scaring us. And this brings me back to Mike Novogratz. He was over speaking on Bloomberg TV, and he talks about what they're trying to do right now, but stick around to the end because I have a feeling that a lot of you might actually agree with Mike's ending thesis.
And so now we're under assault from the U.S. government, right? The Biden administration, the Democratic Party, really doesn't like crypto. Partly because Sam Bankman-Fried was Joe Biden's biggest donor, and he was the biggest donor of the Democratic Party, and he was engaged in a really intimate way with the SEC and the CFTC. And so the Democrats have egg all over their face and feel, oh, I got to run from this. And, there's a small cabal, Elizabeth Warren, Sherrod Brown, Gary Gensler, that really are trying to, they call it Operation Choke Point, crush crypto. It's a terrible decision for the United States, right? Because what we're seeing overseas, Abu Dhabi is making it a really friendly regime. Hong Kong, believe it or not, is coming up with one of the most friendly crypto regimes that's going to start, where even individuals can start participating. And so we're seeing overseas lots of activity, and domestic a government that's really trying to, smush an industry. Despite all that, prices are going higher, right? Crypto started as a little person's revolution. They didn't trust governments. And there's nothing that's happening in the world today, certainly in the United States and a lot of the West, that makes people want to trust governments more. And so it's almost like when they banned wrestling from the Olympics, I remember I was on TV and I was like, I can't think of anything more stupid than picking a fight with 700,000 wrestlers. You're picking a fight with a crypto community that loves this technology, that believes in it almost with religious fervor, that's resilient as can be. And so I'm bullish as can be, mostly not because all the institutions are going to come in, that's been slowed down, but because the people that started this revolution are re-energized.
So they may win some battles, we may lose some battles, we may win some battles, but the war for cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, is far from being over. And I have a feeling that they are not going to be able to stop it. And right here, this is not good what we're seeing. This is what they want, maybe what they want, we don't know. But we have Bittrex, the cryptocurrency exchange. Now, you may not know much about Bittrex. You may not have heard about it if you're new. When I first got into cryptocurrency, when I first started buying Bitcoin, Bittrex was huge. Everyone was using Bittrex. Bittrex was your go-to one-stop shop for Bitcoin, altcoins, trading, everything. And because of that, they were one of the earliest exchanges to come under regulatory scrutiny. Keep in mind, this is before Binance even existed. Binance didn't even exist yet. A lot of people used to use Bittrex, and they made the announcement that they will be shutting down their operations in the US due to a challenging regulatory and economic environment. Not to mention that it was made on their 9th anniversary, marking a bittersweet moment for the company. The co-founder and CEO said that as the company ecosystem evolved, regulatory requirements have become increasingly unclear and enforced without appropriate discussion or input, leading to an uneven competitive landscape. This environment has made it economically unviable for Bittrex to continue its operations in the US. Now, they said everything is safe, the funds are fine, but unfortunately, as you guys can see, they say that they're stopping on April 14th and they're looking to focus mostly on their global trading platform. So they're not shutting down. They're just saying, we just can't do this in the US anymore. It just doesn't make sense. We don't know the rules. We don't know the rules to play by, right? And it's becoming too unclear, and the US doesn't want to come out and make a decision. You got the SEC doing this, you got the CFTC doing that, which actually brings me to this point. The CFTC now, as you guys know, they filed a lawsuit against Binance, their CEO, also their former chief compliance officer, Samuel Lin, and this came out just 2 days ago. The lawsuit alleges that Binance violated derivatives laws by offering services to U.S. customers. The CFTC accused Binance of prioritizing commercial success over regulatory compliance. So this isn't the CEC, this is the CFTC. That's like the other side of the coin. So now you got these guys getting hit from both angles. Regulators seem to be employing every conceivable measure to curb the industry's expansion. Significant regulatory action could prompt Binance to increasingly shift its business operations beyond the United States. Moreover, considering Binance's U.S.'s sizable share of the U.S., their trading volume, the potential closure of the exchange could lead to a decline in domestic trading volume unless traders transition to alternative platforms. Now, let's think about this. What is this going to push people to do? Seriously, are people going to stop trading crypto? No. I mean, not to, bring up crazy laws and stuff, but I mean, and I don't want to talk about sensitive subjects because whenever I say certain words, I get, but there's a certain thing in the US that you can puff on, right? That was illegal for quite a long time. Did that stop people from doing it or using it? No, it didn't, right? It was legal, but people didn't, so it just made people go get it from, shady areas, right? Or do things, right? It's not going to stop the innovation. It's not going to stop these businesses from operating, and it's not going to stop people from investing and buying cryptocurrency. It's just going to push these offshore or push people to then go and trade and do things on shadier exchanges that have less regulatory oversight. It's not going to stop it. So you're better off embracing it, legalizing it, right? Like some of you might know, and just tax it. That's what you guys want to do anyway. You just want to tax it, right? So you can see right here, they also demanded that Binance pay back trading profits, revenues, commissions, and fees derived from U.S. customers, as well as civil penalties assessed by court, stand of jury, and trial on this matter. So unfortunate, guys. But as I said, at the end of the day, I think, again, not to sound like a broken record, everything that we're seeing right now, it's showing that they are scared. They are scared, right? Well, they're clamping it down. They're shutting it down. They're doing this. Yeah. Well, if they weren't scared, they wouldn't care. Obviously, this is a threat to them. But look what we have. El Salvador, the first country to establish Bitcoin as legal tender, has decided to eliminate all taxes on technology innovations. The move runs parallel to establishing the National Bitcoin Office of El Salvador, also known as the Bitcoin Office. So while the US continues to stifle innovation, as other countries like Malta and Singapore and the UAE continue to thrive, El Salvador is now once again proving, and you've seen recently, I believe it's 20,000 people now. 20,000 people have officially converted now from the US. They've moved over to El Salvador because it's a Bitcoin hub. Max, Kaiser, and Stacy, right there, one of them. So I know 20,000 isn't a big number, but everything starts somewhere. Am I telling you to go renounce your citizenship and go to El Salvador? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, these opportunities are arising and you're seeing people take advantage of them, right? Also, let's end on a positive note. I don't want to always have doom and gloom. So a company specializing in social intelligence for the cryptocurrency ecosystem, Lunar Crush, has announced its intentions to send a treasure chest of 62 Bitcoins valued at approximately 1.76 million at the time of writing to the moon. Literally to the moon. The Bitcoin bounty, dubbed as Nakamoto 1, will only be accessible to the first space traveler who reaches the moon and obtains the private key for a crypto wallet engraved on Lunar Outpost MAPP rover, which will be launched into space later this year. So, $1.76 million is a lot of money, but I would be pretty positive that it takes a lot of money to get to the moon. So I don't know if that would just kind of be like a break even, thanks for the trip kind of thing, or who knows. But one of these days we'll be reporting on whoever this person is that actually found this Bitcoin wallet with this money in it. So pretty cool. Something that'll be cool to report on in a few years. Who knows? Maybe you make it to the moon. I don't know. Maybe I make it to the moon. But at the end of the day, guys, CBBI is showing us we are still at a historically extremely low level. I understand that the landscape is scary, but buying at these levels historically has been good in the past. So could we fall down to 10K, 15K? Again, I don't know. I'm not going to pretend like I know. If the US comes out and says, tomorrow crypto's banned, then yeah, I would imagine there'd be a massive panic sell-off. That would be very news-driven, very political. But as far as the charts are concerned, as far as the technicals are concerned, there's nothing that I'm seeing right now in the charts that are making me bearish. I do actually think we're getting to the point where we probably are due for some form of a pullback. If we push up to that 32 level, I think we could get rejected all the way back down to about 25 again. It's just my opinion. It's healthy, right? Markets ebb and flow. You actually don't want markets to just go straight up, because usually what happens when that happens, that's when you see the really big crash, right? So you want to see the markets just kind of, go up, crash a little bit, right? Get another structure, go up. That's what you want to see, right? So that's it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. You're the reason that I make these videos. Hope you are enjoying your weekend. If you're enjoying this content, slap a like. Also, make sure that you follow me on all of my other socials, and make sure that you use the links below if you want to follow me in the socials, because there are a lot of scammers out there. Make sure you're following the official social channels, because some of them I'm still not verified on. Why? I don't know. I'm verified on Twitter. I'm verified on YouTube, not Instagram or TikTok, or Facebook. So if you are following me over there, make sure you use the links below so you're following the official channels. That's it for me. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. I am expecting some pretty crazy volatility next week. And if you do want to trade that volatility along with me, get subscribed. Make sure you watch this tutorial before then. Check the bonuses out below. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.